One night, a single phone call shattered my world. My girlfriend of 4 years was at a lavish dinner, hand in hand with another man, chosen by her family. Betrayed, I could have walked away, but what I uncovered about her new fiancé sparked a plan that would unravel their perfect facade and change my life forever. Buckle up. This is a story of heartbreak, secrets, and a comeback no one saw coming. My phone buzzed at 9:47 p.m., pulling me from the hum of my workshop sander. The name on the screen stopped me cold. Maria, Sophia's aunt. We'd spoken maybe twice in 4 years. Always polite small talk at family gatherings. A call this late meant trouble. I answered, my pulse already climbing. Her voice came through low, urgent, like she was hiding from someone. Lucas, you didn't hear this from me, but you need to know what's happening. My stomach twisted as she spilled the truth. Sophia, my girlfriend since our college days in Austin, was slipping away. Not because she wanted out, but because her family had decided I wasn't enough. Maria explained that Sophia's parents had been grooming a new guy, Diego, for months. He was a real estate hotshot, all polished suits and deep pockets, the kind of man her family saw as a golden ticket. They'd been arranging dinners, weekend getaways, even a stay at their lake house, all while Sophia fed me excuses about late nights at her marketing job. My grip tightened on the phone, knuckles whitening, as Maria described a private dinner set for tomorrow at their ranch house outside Austin. It wasn't just a meal, it was a stage to parade Diego as Sophia's future. If you want proof, go see it yourself, Maria whispered before the line went dead. I stood frozen in my workshop, the sander still buzzing faintly beside me. For years with Sophia flashed through my mind. Late-night tacos on 6th Street, her cheering at my first furniture sale, our plans to buy a fixer-upper someday. Now it felt like a lie. I didn't sleep that night, my mind caught between disbelief and a desperate hope Maria was wrong. By morning, I made up my mind. I needed to see it with my own eyes. The next evening, I parked my beat-up truck a block from Sophia's parents' sprawling ranch house. The place was lit up, cars lining the driveway, their wealth on full display. I crept across the lawn, heart pounding, and crouched near the wide dining room window. Inside, Sophia sat at a long table, her hand resting on Diego's arm. He leaned toward her, all charm, while her parents beamed like they'd won the lottery. My chest burned, not just from betrayal, but from the ease with which she played the part. Laughter spilled out, sharp and fake, as her dad raised a glass to toast the perfect couple. I wanted to storm in, to demand answers, but my feet stayed rooted to the grass. Every smile, every gesture from Sophia stabbed deeper. She hadn't been coerced, she was choosing this. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Another message from Maria. Leave now. Don't make a scene. I backed away, the cold truth settling in. Sophia wasn't stolen. She'd walked away without a word. Back at my apartment, I sat on the couch, staring at nothing. My small furniture business, a side hustle of restoring old pieces, was all I had left to focus on. But even that felt hollow now. The next morning, a notification pinged. A local home decor blog had featured one of my tables. Orders started trickling in, a small spark of purpose. Still, Sophia's betrayal gnawed at me. Then, at a coffee shop near my workshop, I ran into Jake, a guy who'd worked with Diego years ago. Over a quick chat, he dropped a bombshell. Sophia's with Diego now. Hope she's ready for his baggage. When I pressed him, he shrugged. Let's just say his last girlfriend needed a cop to sleep easy. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about a rich guy stealing my girlfriend. Something darker was at play. I started asking around discreetly. A bartender at a downtown spot mentioned Diego's temper, how he'd once shattered a glass during an argument. A former colleague of Sophia's texted me late, saying she'd seen Sophia with red-rimmed eyes at work. Each piece of gossip built a picture I couldn't ignore. Diego wasn't the perfect match her family thought. And Sophia? She was in deeper than I'd realized. That night, my phone lit up with a text from Sophia. Can we talk? Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Rusty's Diner. No explanation, just a plea. I stared at the message, torn between anger and the stubborn part of me that still cared. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Whatever she had to say, I'd hear it. But as I lay awake, the weight of Jake's words and Maria's warnings pressed harder. Tomorrow's meeting wasn't going to be a simple apology. Something told me it would pull me into a storm I wasn't ready for. I arrived at Rusty's Diner 10 minutes early, My truck parked in the far corner of the lot. The place was a quiet hole in the wall on the edge of Austin, far from Sophia's usual haunts. I picked a booth by the window, my nerves buzzing as I scanned every car that pulled in. At exactly 3 p.m., Sophia walked through the door. Her steps were hesitant, her posture tense, like she was bracing for a fight. She slid into the booth across from me, hands clasped tightly on the table. No greeting, no small talk. "Lucas, I'm in trouble," she said, her voice low and unsteady. "And you're the only one I could trust." I leaned back, arms crossed, fighting the urge to walk out. "You've got 5 minutes. Talk." Her eyes darted to the door before she spoke. She admitted her family had pushed her toward Diego, painting him as the key to their financial future. His real estate empire promised to bail out her parents' struggling construction business. At first, she went along, curious about the life he offered. But things turned fast. Diego tracked her phone, questioned every call, and snapped if she so much as smiled at a stranger. "He's not who they think," she whispered, sliding a USB drive across the table. "This proves it." I stared at the small black drive, my pulse spiking. "What's on it?" I asked. She hesitated, then said it held recordings of Diego's threats, photos of him with questionable business contacts, and a contract tying her family to his company. "If I leave him, my parents lose everything," she said. "But if I stay, I'm afraid of what he'll do." Before I could press for more, she stood, glancing nervously outside. "Don't tell anyone yet. Just keep it safe." She was gone before I could respond, leaving me with a ticking bomb in my hand. Back at my workshop, I locked the door and plugged the USB into my laptop. A folder labeled Evidence opened, revealing audio files, scanned documents, and grainy photos. The first recording was Diego's voice, cold and sharp, berating Sophia for talking to a coworker too long. "You embarrass me again, and you'll regret it," he hissed. My stomach churned. Another file showed a contract with a clause. If Sophia ended the engagement before the deal closed, her family would owe Diego's company a 7-figure penalty. The photos were worse. Diego exchanging envelopes with men in dark parking lots, one image catching a glimpse of cash. I sat back, my mind racing. This wasn't just a bad breakup. Diego was dangerous, and Sophia was trapped in a web of money and fear. I wanted to help, but the weight of her betrayal still stung. Why drag me into this now? My phone buzzed with a new order for a custom chair, a reminder of the business I was fighting to grow. I pushed the USB aside, telling myself I'd decide later. But that night, sleep didn't come. Sophia's words, "I'm afraid of what he'll do," kept me staring at the ceiling. The next morning, I was hauling a finished table to my truck when a silver SUV roared into the driveway. Diego stepped out, his polished shoes crunching gravel. He didn't knock, just pushed into my workshop, his eyes scanning the space like he was sizing it up. "Lucas, right?" he said, his tone too calm. "Sophia mentioned you two had a chat." My heart pounded, but I kept my face blank. "Just catching up," I said, setting the table down. He stepped closer, his smile thin. "Let's keep it that way. No need to stir up trouble." He lingered, his gaze locking on mine. "I don't like surprises," he said, his voice dropping. "If you've got something that doesn't belong to you, hand it over. Saves us both a headache." I shrugged, playing dumb. "Nothing here but wood and tools." He nodded, but his eyes said he wasn't convinced. As he walked out, he called over his shoulder, "Think carefully. I always find what's mine." The SUV's engine faded, but the threat hung in the air. I locked the workshop and drove to a friend's house, the USB burning a hole in my pocket. Diego knew something. I needed a plan fast. At a coffee shop later, I met Mia, a journalist I connected with through my furniture blog feature. I told her about the drive, keeping Sophia's name out of it. Her eyes lit up as she skimmed the files on my laptop. "This could be big," she said, "but it's risky. You sure you want to poke this bear?" I wasn't sure, but Diego's visit left me no choice. I handed her a copy of the files. "Make it count," I said. As she left, I knew I'd just crossed the line. There was no going back. I spent the next day on edge, jumping at every car that passed my workshop. Diego's visit had left a chill I couldn't shake, his words looping in my head. "I always find what's mine." The USB drive, now hidden in a lockbox under my workbench, felt like a live grenade. I'd given Mia the files, but she needed time to verify them, and every hour she worked increased the chance Diego would trace it back to me. I kept my phone close, half expecting another threat. By noon, my inbox pinged with a new furniture order, but I could barely focus on sanding wood, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Then Sophia texted again. Meet me tonight, 8 p. Zilker Park near the bridge. Alone. My instinct screamed trap, but her urgency pulled me in. I agreed, but not without precautions. I stashed another copy of the USB in a safe deposit box at my bank, then told my buddy Alex where I'd be, just in case. As dusk settled over Austin, I parked near the park and walked to the bridge, the city's skyline glowing faintly across the river. Sophia was already there, pacing under a streetlight, her shadow flickering on the pavement. You kept it safe? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper as I approached. I nodded, scanning the empty path behind her. What's going on, Sophia? Why the cloak and dagger? She stepped closer, her hands trembling as she pulled out a crumpled photo from her pocket. It showed Diego outside a warehouse, handing a duffel bag to a man I didn't recognize. I took this 2 nights ago, she said. He doesn't know. I followed him. Lucas, he's into something illegal. Deals my family doesn't even know about. I took the photo, my gut tightening. This was worse than shady business contracts. Before I could ask more, headlights flashed across the park. Sophia froze, her eyes wide. That's him, she hissed, grabbing my arm. We ducked behind a cluster of trees as Diego's SUV idled nearby. He stepped out, phone pressed his ear, his voice sharp but too distant to make out. After a tense minute, he drove off, but Sophia was shaking. He's been following me since I gave you the drive, she said. I think he suspects I'm pulling away. I told her about Mia, that the files were with a journalist. Her face paled. You did what? If this gets out, my family's ruined. I snapped back, my patience fraying. You handed me this mess. What did you expect me to do? Sit on it? She looked away, her voice cracking. I thought you'd help me quietly, not blow it up. The accusation stung, but I saw the fear in her eyes. She wasn't just trapped by Diego. She was caught between him and her family's expectations. Give me one reason to keep helping you, I said. She met my gaze, her voice steady for the first time. Because if you don't, he'll destroy us both. I drove home, the photo and her words burning a hole in my mind. At my workshop, I added the photo to the USBs folder, then called Mia. She'd already dug up dirt. Diego's company was linked to a money laundering probe, and the men in Sophia's photos matched known associates in the case. This is dynamite, Mia said. But we need more to nail him without exposing Sophia. I agreed to hold off, but the clock was ticking. Diego wasn't just a controlling fiancé. He was dangerous, and he was closing in. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. A man's voice, calm but cold, said, You've got something I want. Meet me at the old quarry off 183 midnight. Come alone, or Sophia pays. My blood ran cold. Wasn't Diego, his voice I'd recognize, but someone working for him. I hung up, my hands shaking as I texted Mia to speed up her work. I wasn't about to walk into a trap, but I needed a plan. I spent the day rigging my truck with a hidden camera, then called Alex again, asking him to tail me to the quarry discreetly. If this went south, I wasn't going down without evidence. At midnight, I pulled into the quarry, the gravel crunching under my tires. A single car waited, its headlights blinding. A figure stepped out. Not Diego, but a tall man with a scar across his jaw. Hand it over, he said, holding out a gloved hand. I played dumb. Hand what over? His eyes narrowed, and he stepped closer. The drive, where we find Sophia, and she won't like how we ask. My heart pounded, but I stalled, knowing Alex was nearby, recording. Just then, headlights flashed, Alex's truck. The man cursed, jumped back in his car, and sped off. I exhaled, my knees weak, but I'd bought time. The camera had caught his face. Back in my apartment, I sent the footage to Mia. She called within the hour. That's one of Diego's enforcers, she said. This ties him to intimidation. We're close, Lucas. But close wasn't enough. Diego was circling, and Sophia was running out of time. I knew my next move had to be bold, or we'd all pay the price. The quarry encounter left me rattled, but I couldn't afford to freeze. The footage of Diego's enforcer was gold, but it wasn't enough to take him down. I drove to a 24-hour diner outside Austin, the USB and my laptop tucked in a backpack. Mia met me there, her eyes scanning the parking lot as she slid into the booth. The guy in your video is Carlos Vega, she said, pulling up a file on her tablet. He's been linked to Diego's company through shell accounts. This could crack the case. I pushed the backpack toward her. Add this to what you've got. But we need to move fast. Diego's not waiting. She nodded, already typing. I've got a contact at the Austin PD. They're sniffing around Diego's deals, but they need hard evidence. This might be it. I told her about Sophia's fear, how she was caught between Diego's threats and her family's financial ruin. Mia's face softened. She's a victim here, Lucas. But exposing Diego publicly could burn her too. I clenched my jaw, torn between protecting Sophia and ending this. Just make sure it's airtight, I said. No leaks until it's ready. I spent the next day laying low, working on a bookshelf in order to keep my hands busy. My phone stayed silent. No word from Sophia, no threats from Diego's crew. The quiet felt like the calm before a storm. By evening, Mia texted, "Meet me in my office, 9 p.m. Got something big." I grabbed the lockbox with a USB's backup and headed to her small newsroom downtown. She was waiting, her desk cluttered with notes and coffee cups. "Look at this," she said, pointing to her screen. She'd cross-referenced the warehouse photo Sophia gave me with property records. It was owned by a front company tied to Diego, flagged for suspicious shipments. "There's more," Mia said, playing a new audio clip. It was Diego, recorded by an unknown source, discussing cleaning up loose ends before a major deal closed. His voice was calm, clinical, chilling. "That's enough for a warrant," Mia said. "My contact says the PD's ready to move if we hand this over." I hesitated. Giving the cops everything meant Sophia's family would take a hit. Their business was entangled with Diego's. But staying silent risked more threats, maybe worse. I nodded. "Do it." The next morning, I woke to a flood of notifications. Mia's article had dropped online, a blistering expose titled Austin Tycoon's Dark Deals. It laid out Diego's money laundering scheme, backed by the USB's files, my quarry footage, and Vega's rap sheet. The story spread like wildfire, hitting local newsstands and social media by noon. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "Why didn't you warn me?" I started to reply, but another message came through, this time from an unknown number. "You'll regret this." My blood ran cold. Diego knew. I locked my workshop and drove to a friend's cabin an hour outside Austin, the USB's second backup hidden in my truck. At the cabin, I checked the news. Diego's company stock was tanking, investors pulling out as the PD announced an investigation. Sophia's family issued a statement distancing themselves, claiming they were misled. I called Mia, who was already fielding calls for national outlets. "You're safe for now," she said. "Vega's in custody, and Diego's on the run." But I didn't feel safe. Not yet. That night, Sophia called. Her voice was raw, angry. "My parents are losing everything because of you," she said. I snapped back. "You gave me the drive. You wanted out." She went quiet, then admitted she'd moved to a friend's place, away from Diego. "I didn't think it'd go this far," she said. "I just wanted to be free." I softened, realizing she'd been as cornered as I was. "Stay low," I told her. "This isn't over." The next day, a detective contacted me, asking for a statement about the quarry incident. I met him at the station, handing over the backup USB. He confirmed Diego was under surveillance, his accounts frozen. But as I left, I spotted a familiar silver SUV parked across the street. No one was inside, but the message was clear. Diego was still watching. I texted Alex, asking him to keep an eye on my workshop. If Diego was desperate, he'd strike soon. I wasn't running anymore. I'd be ready. The silver SUV outside the police station sent a jolt through me, but I didn't run. Instead, I snapped a photo of its license plate and sent it to the detective I'd just met. Driving back to Austin, I kept one eye on the rearview mirror, expecting Diego's shadow at every turn. My phone buzzed with a message from Mia. "PD raided Diego's office. He's gone underground." I tightened my grip on the wheel, knowing a cornered man was unpredictable. I pulled into a gas station, called Alex, and asked him to check my workshop for anything suspicious. "On it," he said. "Stay sharp." By evening, I was back at the cabin, the USB's final backup locked in a safe. News alerts flooded my phone. Diego's company was collapsing, lawsuits piling up from investors burned by his schemes. A follow-up article from Mia detailed how Sophia's family had cut all ties, their construction business teetering, but free of Diego's grip. I felt a flicker of relief for Sophia, but my focus was survival. Diego wasn't the type to fade quietly. I rigged a cheap security camera at the cabin's entrance, its feed linked to my laptop. Sleep was out of the question. At dawn, Alex called. Someone tried breaking into your workshop last night. Tripwire I set up to scare them off. My stomach dropped. Diego was hunting, and I was the target. I told Alex to stay clear and contacted the detective, sharing the SUV's plate. He confirmed it was registered to one of Diego's shell companies. We're closing in, he said. But keep your head down. I wasn't hiding anymore. I packed my truck, stashed the safe in a hidden compartment, and drove to a public library in Austin, where I could blend in while planning my next move. In the library's quiet corner, I checked Mia's latest update. She'd uncovered a new lead. Diego had been spotted at a private airstrip outside town, likely planning to skip the country. I texted her the SUV's plate, urging her to pass it to the cops. Then Sophia called, her voice steady but strained. I'm safe, but Diego's people came to my friend's place last night. They didn't find me. I told her about the airstrip. Stay hidden, I said. He's desperate now. She paused, then said, I'm sorry for pulling you into this. You didn't deserve it. I didn't reply, but her words eased the anger I'd carried since that night outside her parents' house. An hour later, Mia texted, Cops got him. Airstrip sting. I exhaled, the weight lifting slightly. The detective called to confirm. Diego was arrested trying to board a private jet, caught with forged documents and cash. Carlos Vega, his enforcer, had turned state's evidence, spilling details on Diego's operations. The USB's files, combined with Mia's reporting, had sealed his fate. You're clear, the detective said, but we'll need you to testify. I agreed, knowing it was the last step to ending this. I returned to my workshop the next day, the air lighter despite the lingering mess of sawdust and tools. My phone pinged with new furniture orders, the blog feature still driving business. A major retailer emailed, offering a contract to stock my pieces nationwide. I sat back, the reality sinking in. I wasn't just surviving, I was building something real. Sophia sent one final text. Thank you. I'm starting over. I didn't respond. She'd made her choices, and I'd made mine. Her family's business took a hit, but they'd recover. Diego faced years behind bars, his empire dust. I met Mia for coffee to thank her. She grinned, already chasing her next story. You're a hero, Lucas, she said. I shook my head. Just a guy who didn't want to be played. Driving home, I passed the diner where Sophia had given me the USB. It felt like years, not weeks, since that moment. I wasn't the same man who'd stood frozen outside her parents' window, betrayed and broken. I'd taken control, not with fists or vengeance, but with truth. The law had done the rest. For the first time, I felt free, not because Diego was gone, but because I'd written my own ending.